Hi friends, I'm Rocky Outcrop. This is Link Technical Analysis. So we're going to take a look at Link versus Bitcoin and Link versus the dollar coin. Yes, somebody said in the comments last week that they never heard anybody call it the dollar coin before. Well, there you go. That's what happens whenever you're so used to talking about different coins, then you end up sticking the word coin on the end of it. So we've taken a look at Link versus the BTC and Link versus the USD in this episode. Currently starting off then with the Link BTC pairing, and we have an inside pitchfork drawn here. This is of course a negative pitchfork since our $20 highs, and what have we seen happen with the price action? Well, there's indeed a great deal of flux over here, and you've got to have wondered, whenever the kind of the enthusiasm fell out of the DeFi market there in the end of last week. This is the weekly time frame, that perhaps this was a little bit of a shock and awe thing that happened there, and will we see that as being successful, and will the prices manage to turn around with that shock and awe tactics from American military procedure, or indeed are we going to be setting in here for a long drawn out guerrilla warfare as we see the prices perhaps descend down past these points? So what do we have on here? 50% area coming in at 116,482, and of course the golden pocket itself again, and the lower line, and of course that 116k area coinciding nicely with the lower line on the pitchfork, and the golden pocket then coming in with the lower warning line on the pitchfork there at that 100k area. You're also possibly perhaps interested in knowing then if you were to extend this down the way. Now of course there's more to life than pitchforks. These are something that I've only started using on the channel recently. Of course I've got experience of using them in the past, which is what gives me the ability to do this sort of jazz. But if you are indeed interested, there's many different ways of arriving at these conclusions, in which case you should probably subscribe to the channel so that you can garner more and more excellent professional level technical analysis. Indeed, I'm not joking, professional level technical analysis on the channel for yourself, to enable you to become the best and your own best source of knowledge. Now, of course, there's a good phrase that my grandmother used to say: work hard, trust few, always paddle your own canoe. And that's what I try and do. I'm trying to hand you the oars to help you do that. Check it out, and you can see that the prices in their shock and awe tactics came all the way down towards the lower end of this extended area of the pitchfork, bang on that, and that is perhaps, in a sense, why we saw that operate as a bottom for us. And the prices move up subsequently since then, having covered off all of the targets that we had, which maybe seemed at the time, when the prices were up here at $20 or 170,000 Satoshis, as being somewhat ridiculous extrematus. But they aren't. And this is, again, still remains in play. The 786 and the 886 thereafter being two potential further targets if we were to do that. If you want to, we could then jump on down towards the 24-hour time frame and check in with divergences. Let me just get rid of some of that junk off of there, if you don't mind bearing with me. Let me just remove the brush strokes. Brush, and they're still all there. Anyway, great. Let me just do it manually just for now so we can check in with our divergence and see if we have any on the go. Now, as I'm removing these, I'm going to leave it with you to decide what do you think Rocky's going to say in a couple of seconds, looking at this recent price action with regards to the potential divergence. What do you think he's going to say? 3, 2, 1. Yes, well done, you did it. Between this low and this low, as we look here on the RSI, there is indeed no divergence. So they haven't got that counter trend indication towards us in terms of what we've been looking at right now. Now, throughout the week, by the way, I'll start doing other things. I'm starting off here on Monday with a bit more detail on the episodes so that I can introduce other ideas throughout the week, such as the EMAs and things like that. As you can see here, we're below the 20 and above the 50, and other sorts of ideas like that. Now, what are those things? What would you call them? The EMAs and whatever. If I just called this a counter trend indicator, what would you think that those are? Are they as well counter or concurrent pro trend contra? I know. Well, actually, yes, they are with the trend. So what you'd be looking then is a contrast between those two. That's a sort of advanced level technical analysis type technique for you, but you might have just valued that little tidbit of knowledge. That's what we'll be doing over this week, and it's something that I think I'll talk about in terms of my theme for the week here in September. If you can help me as well over the period of the next couple of weeks to get towards that 2K in the next 2 weeks target, that would be excellent. We'll talk about that again in just a second when we dive over towards the dollar pricing. But as you can see here on that 24-hour time time frame, we don't have that divergence. Then if we look here between these 2 points that are most recent in terms of the low on the 4-hour time frame, you can very much see that there is indeed that divergence. And what's happened is it's come in here and put in a higher high than this high over here. But this high, which is a considerable, could be considered to just be kind of like flux along the way. Perhaps really to be convincing, what we need to do is get higher than that 125k area. And I would say that if you want to be sort of more strict about it, we really do need to push up past 130 in order to sort of say that this is kind of reversing for now. A good deal of this price action will, of course, be determined by the interaction between Bitcoin and the dollar itself. But failing to do so and moving on down past these areas could mean that what we've really done is given ourselves a degree of hidden bearish divergence, perhaps, or something. No, that's not really fair to say that. Not fair to say that on that front. What about the stochastics? No, not on that front. On the DMI, is it fair to say that? No. So what about the MACD? Yes, on the MACD, it would be fair to say so. So we'd have this sort of hidden bearish divergence on the MACD, and maybe that's a sort of clue towards us if we were to be pushing on past those areas, if we go down past that 100k price point, for example. And we already covered off all the different targets that we could be looking at then thereafter on that one. Over here on the dollar pricing, where do we find the prices, and have they become divergent and done the same thing? Well, indeed, actually, it's exactly the same scenario, with the prices having put in a little bit of bullish divergence here between these two lows across the board, really, on looking at these lows, for instance, on the MACD as well. So it's been there across the board, including the DMI, and then we've seen the prices rise up and go past their previous high, but they haven't achieved a 382 retracement yet. Although if we look between these two areas, in terms of this high and this low, we could maybe discover something by taking a look at a 236 Fibonacci point. Let's just do that then, so that we can put this into greater context, drawn in wick to wick, as we like to do on the channel, and you can see that the 236 comes in here bang lined up with the lower end of this white parallel channel, where the prices have seemed to have wanted to dive back into again, or indeed ascend back into again, where they found resistance at the median line of it. Indeed interesting, I would imagine so. This is how you do technical analysis, peoples. We were looking between these two lines here then and saying, well, this is where your 382 is, coincides nicely with this other 382 that we have up there at that $12.95 region. So if we're coming up towards $13, $12 the high end of the $12, then perhaps we have a degree of positivity which exists on the charts. If this were then to just continue and go up towards filling in a golden pocket retrace, I would indeed be cautious in and around about those $14.70 to $15 price area, where the 618 is coming in at, potentially leading to a low, a higher low, a lower high, again, as part of this overall downward trend, right? So to put that into context, then you'd be below the 236 on that one. And let me just draw out that context a little bit clearer for you, because you've got this high here, followed by this low, followed by this lower high, followed by this lower low, meaning that the areas for you to look to for divergences aren't actually between the last two areas that we see here in the 4-hour time frame, but instead rather between this area and this area here. You see, and I hope you're taking a lesson from this, because this is the high, this is the high, this is the low, and this is the low. And this area here is really the trend that we're looking to on that front. So that's where you have to be most interested. And looking here on this oscillator, you can see that it is very much not divergent, in which case you could then anticipate further moves towards the downside, whether you give in a tasty entry towards the top side. Now, I did promise myself that I wouldn't do this sort of thing, but that is how you would do that. I'm going to have to kind of somehow figure out a way of doing the technical analysis that enables you to do that yourself, and really, start to rely on yourself, so that you get that really broad. This is perfect technical analysis, what you should aspire to yourself in terms of your own trading. But, of course, not, I'm here to be a spirit guide, or indeed perhaps even a shaman, as we look at the charts together. So 2K within 2 weeks, is it possible? And do you think the value that I put in these episodes warrants that? I would say that perhaps it does, but it's all down to you, as we currently look at the price, at the number that we've got to, and that is 1,624 subscribers. Can we do that? If you help by doing things like introducing me to your friends, remembering quite wisely, of course, that a friend of yours is a friend of mine, then I would really very much appreciate it. And I value all of the efforts that all of you have done to spread the word about this channel so far. And indeed, let's see if we can get to that target. I would appreciate it thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's see how things go over the next wee while. Like I say, I'll be back again weekdays, Monday to Friday, doing episodes on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and Tezos. Indeed, I do bonus episodes too. If you'd like to see one of those, then you become a member of the channel, hitting that join button down below, or indeed, which is probably preferable in some ways, join the Discord and send me a tip and I'll take a look at that for you. I'm no longer going to do it for just people who come along ad hoc and ask, because while that has been indeed a very good and fun and wonderful thing, that what we've found is that there's about a 50% hit rate in terms of those people then returning to the channel afterwards. And what we want to do is cater for people, because a lot of people want me to take a look at a lot of different coins, and indeed I'm just going to do that on a request basis from those who are sending the value back the way, because what I try to do in every single episode is put out a great deal of value for everybody. So if you want to do that, that's how you do that, and I'll take a look at whatever comes up this week if anybody suggests any. And that is our target, 2K within 2 weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Really do appreciate it. I'm going to go on and take a look at Tezos now, and I'll be back again tomorrow where I'll look at the EMAs and things as well, probably. Let's see. Thank you. See you next time.